Imagine a world where the very bricks beneath our feet hold the secret to saving the planet. We often walk past old buildings or garden walls without giving the red clay and stone a second thought. Bricks are simple and heavy, and they have been around for thousands of years. But today they are becoming the heroes of a high-tech revolution that might just change how everything in your home is made. When we look at a bar of chocolate or a steel beam in a skyscraper, we do not usually think about the massive amounts of fire and heat needed to create them. Most of our modern world is cooked into existence. This cooking requires temperatures so high that we have always believed we had to burn something to get there. We have spent centuries burning coal and gas to melt metal and bake cement. But now we are discovering that the simplest materials can act like giant sponges for clean energy. This shift is not just about a new machine but about a new way of thinking about heat and storage. To understand this, we must first look at the surface concept of energy storage. Most of us are used to the batteries in our phones or our cars. These are complex devices made of rare metals and chemicals that store electricity. We often think that the only way to save green energy from the wind or the sun is to put it into these expensive lithium batteries. This creates a mental block because we know that making enough of those batteries to power a whole factory would be far too expensive. However, the surface idea here is that we do not actually need to store electricity if what we really need is heat. By turning electricity into heat immediately and soaking it into something as cheap as a brick, we bypass the most expensive part of the green transition. It is a simple solution hiding in plain sight. We are essentially using ancient materials to solve a modern problem. This leads us to a hidden assumption that we have carried since the start of the industrial age. We have always assumed that industrial heat must come from a flame. When you see a large factory, you expect to see a chimney with smoke. We assume that electricity is for lights and computers while fire is for heavy work. This deep belief tells us that you cannot run a massive steel mill or a cement kiln on a battery. We think of batteries as small and delicate things, not as giant stacks of glowing red stone. But this assumption is being proven wrong. The heat we get from burning gas is just energy, and the heat we get from a sun-powered toaster is also energy. The atoms in the brick do not care where the energy came from. They just hold on to it. By letting go of the idea that we need fire, we open up a world where the sun can bake our bread and melt our metal even in the middle of the night. This transition from fire to radiation is a massive leap in human logic. If we look at the structural pattern of this invention, we see something beautiful in its geometry. The secret is not just the material but how the material is arranged. Think of a giant three-dimensional checkerboard. This structure allows heat to move evenly through thousands of tons of material. It is a pattern of balance. In nature, we see patterns that manage energy efficiently, like the way a beehive stays warm or the way a forest floor holds moisture. Here, the pattern of open chambers allows radiant heat to spread without touching. This even distribution means the bricks do not crack and the energy stays trapped inside for a long time. The pattern allows us to take a variable source of power like the wind, which blows whenever it wants, and turn it into a steady flow of energy. It is a structural bridge between the chaotic weather of our planet and the constant needs of our factories. This is the geometry of sustainability. It turns a temporary spark into a permanent glow. We can reframe this entire perspective by looking at the idea of a battery not as a high-tech gadget but as a thermal bank. In the past, we extracted energy from the earth by digging it up and burning it. We were always spending our natural capital. Now we are learning how to harvest energy from the sky and save it in the ground. This reframing changes the factory from a polluter into a partner with the environment. Instead of fighting against the seasons and the weather, the factory becomes a part of the cycle. It drinks in the extra power when the sun is bright and breathes out hot air when the work needs to be done. This vision of manufacturing is quiet and clean and steady. It moves us away from the era of extraction and into the era of storage. We are no longer just consumers of fire, we are masters of light and heat. This has a direct application to our daily lives and how we view the objects around us. Every time you touch a ceramic mug or walk on a concrete sidewalk, you are touching the result of intense heat. Knowing that this heat can now come from a clean battery changes our relationship with the things we buy. We can start to imagine a future where the products we use do not leave a scar on the atmosphere. This technology invites us to look for simple solutions to complex problems. Sometimes the answer to a global crisis is not a more complicated computer chip but a better way to stack a brick. It teaches us to value the materials that are abundant and low cost. We can apply this mindset to our own lives by looking for ways to be more efficient with how we use and store energy in our homes. It is a reminder that innovation often comes from revisiting the basics with a fresh set of eyes. As we deepen our reflection on this, we might think about the history of human progress. For thousands of years we sat around campfires to stay warm and cook our food. Then we moved those fires into giant furnaces to build the modern world. We have always been the people of the flame. But now we are becoming the people of the glowing stone. We are learning how to keep the heat without the smoke. This is a profound shift in our identity as a species. It suggests that we can maintain our high quality of life and our amazing manufacturing abilities without destroying the balance of the air we breathe. The heat battery is a symbol of a mature civilization that has learned how to use its resources without wasting them. It is a slow and steady revolution that happens inside a quiet insulated box. By using the wind and the sun to heat up the very earth we walk on, we are creating a loop of energy that can last as long as the sun itself. This is the promise of a world that works 24/7 for everyone. It is a future built on bricks and light. If we can find a way to power the world's heaviest industries using nothing but simple clay and sunshine, what other ancient materials might be waiting to solve our most modern problems?